What's goody, Shell? Trying to the most woke, no joking. I'm back at again with a brand new video, and I'm gonna keep it up, Bowberry Biscuit, man. I'm gonna need your help on this one. I'm really gonna need your help on this one because I'm not sure what to really think about this situation, because this is a whole new world, I think, for me and for most people in the NFL, because this is something that hasn't happened, that hasn't really been thought of being a real possibility since 2012 when it happened to Josh Gordon. And I'm talking about Adonis Alexander declaring for the NFL Supplemental Draft. Basically, Adonis Alexander was he was one of the best corners coming out of college last year, but he opted to stay in school. But then he was declared academically ineligible for the school year, or for the athletic school year. So he can't play football, and so he had to just go ahead and declare for the supplemental draft. And what that is, if you're not familiar with what the supplemental draft is, it's a draft for players who opted to go back to school, but before the season started and after the draft, they were declared ineligible for one reason or another, and it gave them a chance to come into the league without having to actually go to the first draft, because they wouldn't be able to do much the next year. Let's be honest, these guys didn't go to college to play school. But Adonis Alexander could possibly be the first player picked in the supplemental draft since 2012 with Josh Gordon. And it doesn't matter who you are, even Jerry Richardson you don't pass on Josh Gordon. But it also shows you that it hasn't been anyone picked in the last 5 years in supplemental draft. So it shows that most players do get picked up in the draft, and not a lot of players, there's not a lot of talent in supplemental draft. But Adonis Alexander was arguably one of the better corners in the league last year at Virginia Tech. They had a really interesting exotic. They ran a 4-2-5 where their safeties ran a lot of cover zero. So if you were a corner at Virginia Tech, you had to be good at coverage, because you probably weren't getting a lot of help over the top. Like, you had to be on your job. But also with the 4-2-5, it put a lot of different exotic looks, and you could blitz a lot from the corner position and do a lot of different things with that, and a lot of sub packages with the linebackers. So not Jair, but Adonis Alexander was really good at coverage, and he had a lot of good pressures on the quarterback and hits on the quarterback blitzing from his corner spot. So he's a really interesting player. Good speed. I think he was 6'3". I think he's 6'3", 200 pounds. That's pretty good size, honestly. I mean, that's actually very good size for a corner. I mean, that puts him up there. Actually, with our corners on our team right now, that puts him up there. You don't find very many fast, tall, lanky corners, and he has the size and the speed to be an NFL starter this year. So, but the way that the supplemental draft works is 3 waves. It's the bottom 6 or 8 teams, the teams that didn't make the playoffs, and then the playoff teams. And based off your wins and how far you got in the playoffs, you're weighted with different probabilities for getting a higher draft pick. And the way you get a player is you put in bids to the NFL. You say, hey, we want this player, and we will pick him in the 3rd round. Or we want this player, but we will pick him in the 2nd round. And if you have the highest bid, you get the player. But if you get the player, you forfeit that round's pick in the next year's draft. So you don't want to go and say, oh, I want this, to guarantee you get a player. I want it to in the 1st round and guarantee you get him, but then you lose your 1st round pick. But you don't want, but also the other thing is, the way it's weighted is, if, say we made it to the playoffs, but we didn't win a game, so we would have a better chance at getting a player than, say, the Falcons or Saints, per se. But the Seahawks would have a better chance than we would, but they're also a whole wave of being able to pick players ahead of us. So we were a playoff team, so we have the option of picking him up after the Seahawks. I mean, assuming they'd even want him. So it's kind of confusing. I'll leave a link to how to explain supplemental draft in the description below. But I think that we have to actually look at this guy, Adonis Alexander, because I think he could be a day 1 starter for our team. But the really crazy thing for me is that, what does that leave us for next year? Because honestly, next year we're going to have a pretty boring draft. And by boring, I mean we have to draft O-linemen early, right? We have to go O-lineman. We definitely have to go edge early on. And it's a deep, talented draft at the edge next year. But I'm really thinking that if we go edge 1st round, which we really should, we probably go D-line, probably go O-line rounds 2 and 3. But keep in mind, we also do have that compensatory 3rd round pick for Norwell leaving to the Jags. So if we were able to pick up Adonis Alexander by bidding a 3rd round pick, that could work. We could still get our O-lineman, and we don't really lose a pick because we already have 2 draft picks in the 3rd. Unless I don't think we have a future 3rd we gave away. But that's something interesting there. And I think that Adonis Alexander could really be a good fit for us. Throw up his stats for me one time, man. He, as a freshman, he jumped in and he had an impact immediately. Played 11 games, 55 total tackles, 0.5 for a loss, 4 interceptions, and 6 passes defended. His sophomore year, he had 13 games played, 43 tackles, 2 for a loss, 2 interceptions, and 7 passes defended. And in 2017, just last year, he only played 8 games. He had the marijuana possession charge he got suspended for a game for. And then there was also, he broke team rules. But he had 27 total tackles, 2 for a loss, a sack, and an interception. But don't get fooled because, like I said, in their 4-2-5, they blitz a lot, they get a lot of pressure. He does more things than these numbers suggest. And also, he also had a forced fumble. But I think he can really be a good fit for our defense. And it seems, and what you're thinking is, you're probably thinking, okay, he had, he got suspended, he had a few character issues, but in his I guess press conferences and in his statements he's made since being announced as he's going to be academically ineligible for this season, he seems like he's pretty regretful. He said he's acknowledging, yeah, I should have worked harder in my studies. I kind of got a big head after my freshman year. I had a big year freshman year. Came in, did the thing, and I kind of dropped the ball in academics. Wasn't really paying attention in class. Had to drop a few classes. And I regret that. It wasn't a smart choice. And it wasn't like those canned responses that a PR guy wrote. It seemed pretty sincere, like he actually thought these things through and understands the position he's in, and that he really wanted to go back and play college ball this year. He isn't like someone whose first choice was going to the draft. He wanted to play college ball this year, but he knew he was good enough to get drafted, probably top 3 rounds. Maybe top 4, just because DBs didn't really go in the first round, but he would have been ranked as a top 3 round talent, I believe wholeheartedly, with his size, his speed, and just being in a really exotic defense that requires your corners to do so much. I think he could be a really good talent. I would not be against us using a 3rd round pick or bidding a 3rd round pick for him. I wouldn't say 2nd, just because I think for the O-line, since we didn't address it this year, we really have to use a top 2 pick on our O-line next year. And depending on how well we do this year, if we lose a bunch, well, we're getting a great, probably generational talent on the edge. If we do really well this year, like I hope, then we'll probably still get solid talent on the edge, but we might go O-line. We might go 2 rounds of O-linemen in the first 3 rounds. Do not be surprised if that happens. I can't say it enough. Do not be surprised if we go O-line heavy next year. Because we're going to need it. But let me know what you guys think about Adonis Alexander, man. Let me know in the comments below. If you guys are fans of college ball, I won't lie, I'm not the biggest fan of college ball, so I don't know so much. But I've been looking through this a little bit for the last couple days. And I might think about pulling the trigger on this guy. Pull the trigger, and this is the kind of competition you want for your defensive backs, and this is the kind of youth and the kind of nucleus we can build up for years to come, and have these guys grow up and compete and get better together, and maybe make a run at having one of the best defensive back, having the best secondaries, along with a really great front 7. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, or my Twitter at Shellatron. Same as the channel name, bro. You already know to do that like button. I got a button right here to subscribe, a button right here for to watch more videos. Namaste. Back sooner than you think.